Good evening and a warm welcome, and we are finally back after our summer break. We've had the Euros, we've had a bit of writing, but now we've got a little bit of sorry guys, I had to chuck it in. And now we are just over a week away from the Premier League seasons are starting. So all excitement, and we'll discuss all things Arsenal, and we'll probably have a little bit of a look later in the show at the rest of the transfer market. We are going live across three channels today. We are live on the Mr. Arsenal podcast. We're live on In the North Bank, and we're live on my own Twitter page as well. So obviously feel free, guys, to obviously share the love, and obviously if you haven't subscribed to both the channels of In the North Bank and the Mr. Arsenal podcast, please subscribe. So I'm going to give you a warm welcome to my guest tonight. As it's a week prior to the season starting, we haven't got the G with us tonight, but she will be back next week. But what I have got is two splendid, good-looking young gentlemen here with me. So good evening, Mark.
How are you doing? Coming on.
Actually, make that first.
When are the two good-looking gentlemen coming on?
Well, I did have a third, mate, but I don't know what's happened to him there.
Very good.
How you doing, mate? How's your summer been?
Yeah, good. Spent a lot of it up in Crow Park at the GAA. That kind of was my sporting fix for the summer. So yeah, looking forward to getting back over from next weekend. So definitely.
Yeah, I can't wait, mate. It's been a long time coming now, isn't it, since that Everton game? At the back end of March. Yeah. Back end of May. But yeah,
feels really like the back end of March. That
feels like March. It does feel like the back end of March, mate. It does. Jesus. How you doing, Sparks, mate? How's your summer been?
Yeah, not too bad. We bought a new house, so it's kind of been a bit of renovation central. So
you're in there now, are you?
We're in. Yeah, we started doing certain things, start rewiring it and doing some other bits and pieces, and we're having the first stage plastered so that we can start getting some paint on the walls and tidy it up for the winter. Yeah, so before we go again.
Nice.
Yeah, do you know what? I've been in here nearly 2 years now, mate, and I'm still getting loads of work that needs to be done to it. It never stops, does it? It never, ever stops.
No, I keep doing one thing and then find another.
And you'll continue, mate. It'll continue. But anyway, mate, it's been obviously we were supposed to have Bray. I don't know what's happened with him, so we'll wait for him to arrive. But what we're going to do first, just say obviously welcome to obviously our guests at the moment. Good evening to the Hawkwin. How you doing, mate? Good to see you on. We'll have a little look back to yesterday's game first and foremost. Obviously the Emirates Cup. Just finished our tour in America, where obviously we won one game, drew one game, and lost one game. But when you start naturally looking, don't you, at the Euros and where the key teams kind of finished up as well, especially like England, Spain. Obviously, quite a lot of players hadn't come back for that. In terms of the American tour, Mark, a good tour overall for you? Good to see some of the youngsters as well?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's important to start getting some of them integrated. I think 4 or 5 of them nearly probably saw action in America. So as you said, look, you wouldn't be reading that into the games over there, given the players that we were missing and our opponents were missing, obviously. But yeah, nice to, again, a great opportunity was given to 4 or 5 of those younger guys.
Yeah.
And some of them got minutes again yesterday. So obviously they made some sort of impression while they were in the States. So that's good to see.
I think one of the things that did kind of impress me, I didn't watch the Liverpool game, thank God, but apparently we had a pretty decent second half. But in the Manchester United game, like they come out of the blocks and went 1-0 up. But I think what kind of impressed me in that game was the character, especially of some of the youngsters. I'll be honest, the young kid Heaven, he had a bit of an hard first 15 minutes, didn't he? Up there until obviously their key striker went off. But I thought obviously the character and the turnaround of that performance was pretty good, and I thought it was good, like you said, a good experience for some of the youngsters, and some of the key players as well, because key like probably bench players as well, because we at some point we are going to call upon these guys, and I think it's good that we play teams like Manchester United and Liverpool in pre-season, because you need to know what the level's going to be like going into a new season. We need to see how these kind of players react, whether we've got our players like Declan Rice or Saka's are available, or if we're looking at other players across the squad.
Definitely. As I said, yeah, definitely. It's very important to get minutes into guys who we may need later on down the line. And as I said, playing against proper opposition rather than, say, an MLS 11 or LA Galaxy or one of those teams where you wouldn't learn as much, I think is probably important.
Yeah. No, it was good. It was a good tour, but in terms of obviously coming out the tour, obviously Emil Smith Rowe left the club. Good money in your opinion, or would you go to see him go, or a bit of both?
Bit of both. Obviously, you never really want to see an academy player go, but it's. I don't think we were going to fetch much more than what we got for him. Given he's hasn't played very much the last couple of seasons with his injury record, so to get 30+ million, I think is probably fair enough. And good deal for him as well to move on and hopefully, if he stays fit, get regular football at Fulham, because that wasn't going to happen at Arsenal. So,
and I think that's the problem, isn't it? I think we kind of see that at the back end of last season, didn't we? When he did get fit, that he come on in that Luton game, didn't he? And got a good run out, but the chances were few and far in between. And I'm totally with you. I'm really sad that obviously he hasn't kind of made it. But I think the day we brought Martin Odegaard was a day that pretty much kind of told us that we've where our carrots were going with that number 10 role. And to be fair, we brought Odegaard in, who's probably just what I would say just off De Bruyne's level at this moment of time, and a player who I think that can reach that level over the next few years. So I think obviously the business getting him in was a brilliant one, but probably not so. It didn't help Emil Smith Rowe whatsoever, did it really?
No. And the emergence of Martinelli didn't help him either. And then we brought in Trossard, so it's just...
And Kai.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably not helping.
What's your thoughts, Sparks, on it? What's your thoughts on the Emil Smith Rowe, Sparks?
Again, I didn't want to see him go, but at the end of the day, I'd much rather sell him now, get rid of him now, or sell him now and get some decent money for him. Release him into a club where he's going to play regular football. We get a decent fee for him. And we can invest it in the squad. He wasn't going to play, was he? I mean, we saw last year that he played very few minutes, although it was on the back of an injury. Probably wasn't going to play much more, and they probably just decided to call it and make some pure profit out of him, and maybe reinvest it somewhere else.
Yeah, definitely. I think we wholeheartedly agree in terms of obviously it's a good deal. A very good deal for Fulham as well, and it'd be interesting to keep an eye out and see how he gets on there, because I do think for him as well, he has got the potential to get back in an England squad, and with a new manager coming in at the moment, it's up for grabs, isn't it? Again, the whole squad now with a new manager, so it'd be a very interesting time for Emil Smith Rowe, and hopefully we'll be cheering him on in an England shirt in some foreseeable future.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, the one up there doesn't really count. So at the end of the day, he wants a free pass, but you know what I mean. That ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
So
might you?
It's still not gonna happen, mate. I'd rather go at Wales. Anyway, just purely from the reaction of the Euros and stuff like that, where people don't really.
We got
on England as well.
We got the old Colonel crying already. Conquer showing their true colours again. Reminds me of the Arsenal days. Slowly good enough to get to top four. Completely sell players. Sign 2 or 3. Hardly improve us there. I think, my personal opinion, I think we just need to wait to the end of the window, see what they do.
Yeah.
And then
I've seen a lot of people online that basically, I don't know if I know he's a regular kind of joker, but I don't know if he's actually serious there or not. But yeah, we need to wait until the window's shut and then react from there. There's plenty that can go on. I still think that we're looking for a cut price deal for either Gyökeres or Osimhen. I think they're both potentials. They both improve the squad. They improve the 9, and
Yeah.
the fact that he's still persevering with Havertz in midfield tells me that we're still going for a striker.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Sparks. Actually, the fact he's playing Havertz in midfield suggests that there's something in the works.
But the thing is, he's probably one of our highest paid players, and he only come in a year and a half ago, and he's not going to get rid, because he's seen something in him anyway. So he's obviously one of his players. He does decent work even when he's not in the striker role, and he can play the support striker role as well. So I think that the fact that he is persevering in different positions kind of says either we're going to end up with Jesus playing as the number 9, or we're getting a number 9. And although when I've seen Jesus now, he looks like a lot fitter. He looks like he's lost a few pounds, and he looks more streamlined. Let's go with. I think he'll be better, but I don't think he's got the legs for a full season.
No, he hasn't demonstrated that yet. Anyways, that he's going to get 30+ games in a season.
Well, he hasn't demonstrated that anywhere, has he? Anywhere he's been. So he's scored important goals, sure, and he scored Champions League goals, fantastic, but he hasn't been prolific by any means. So I think that's an area we just need to address.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one with Havertz. I'm pretty much on the same assumption as I was at the start of last season. And I keep saying this, there was a method to what Arteta was plotting at the start of last season until Timber got injured. And I think this Havertz role is going to revolve. And as it does, I think he will literally, naturally push himself right up onto that striker as a second striker. So I do think that potentially there is something in the pipeline with that. We pretty much know that Pep does it all the time, and Arteta will do it as well. That they'll get that position ready for someone. And
I think we saw a bit of it anyway when he was doing it with Jesus, and they were kind of interchanging with each other and kind of pushing each other further and further forward. So I kind of think we've seen a bit of that. We've never saw it enough because obviously we got injuries and such like with Jesus anyway. But I think we're definitely heading in that direction.
Yeah, I just think though, like, it's an interesting one, isn't it? When can we play Havertz in that role and get away with it, and when can we not? Like, we know if we go somewhere probably like Man City away, we're going to play a bit more of a disciplined team. And you probably
not against Villa. We can't do it against Villa.
No, home or away doesn't seem to work.
No, it don't. You're right there, but I think it like when we'll talk about the signings coming in pretty soon. But when you start looking at another midfielder coming in, you look at potentially another striker coming in, and maybe a winger. There's a lot of flexibility, and we know a bit of it will be as well in that interchanging positions. And I just think Havertz has, since he's been put up top, has offered us something totally different to what we did have. Do you know what I mean? And I think he done an absolute splendid job at the back end. When you cut it all down, he only went up top from February onwards.
Yeah.
So for me, like, there is the option that if we don't get the striker in, that he will do a good job for us. But I am on the assumption now for us to go that step further, and especially to challenge for the Champions League, especially when you look at the Bayern Munich game away, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
we need that striker who's got that confidence.
That clinical one, didn't you? That one shot.
Yeah.
Because that's you go away in Europe, you might get one chance the whole 90 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, I think personally, if Havertz is in the striker role constantly, I think he's scoring 15 to 20 goals.
Absolutely agreed.
Yeah.
Whether he scores 20 to 25, that's the $1 million question, isn't it? You know, that could be the difference between winning a league, winning a Champions League, winning whatever.
Yeah.
So, is he good? He's proved he can do it there. Being
Yeah.
prolific there is a different matter altogether.
Yeah.
Let's go back into the game yesterday, though. Obviously 4-1 against Bayer Leverkusen. I thought it was a pretty solid performance overall. I thought we displayed some really good football. I thought we was really comfortable. I do think Leverkusen seemed like that they were still on their jollies, which I'll be honest, I was quite surprised by them, because I thought, considering their season last year, I thought that they would have brought at least something to us, but they didn't really bring nothing to us. And 4-1, I think, was a more than a reflective scoreline in terms of our dominance. Was there anything that really excited you in that performance yesterday, Mark?
I think we moved the ball quite well. The speed of our passing was quite good. Obviously, anytime you score 4 goals, you have to be happy enough with that as well. And bar the one slip up at the end, we were solid defensively. So, yeah, a lot to be positive about. We got minutes into everyone as well. So even the guys coming back from the Euros, Rice got a lot of minutes, Saka got minutes. So we're moving in the direction of getting back to our full strength squad, or where we want to be with our team, leading into Saturday week now. It's coming around fairly quick.
Yeah, I think it was good, like you said, see Rice come back, Saka come back, David Raya in goal, Saliba back. And obviously you would expect on Sunday to see pretty much, I wouldn't say the ready starting team for the Saturday after, but I think pretty much close to it. Bit of a shame Timber weren't fit though yesterday, wasn't it?
Timber
didn't play yesterday.
Yeah, it's a shame both of them were missing. Would have been nice to see at least one, if not both of them, get minutes. So hopefully we'll see them at the weekend. So that has to be the hope, that they're fit and available for Wolves on the 17th. So
definitely. And Sparks, did you watch the game last night?
I didn't watch it. I've seen a lot of highlights. I saw. I was following it on your YouTube and Twitter as well, and I saw plenty of people basically ripping Zinchenko, because obviously he's got a new shirt number, and obviously he's staying, and so a lot of people ripping him, and he scored within seconds. So well done, chaps. It's really good observation that he's finished or whatever. So I saw that quite a lot.
What do you think about Zinchenko this year in terms of positional wise? Do you think he sticks like with that left back role? Obviously, there's a lot of competition for that role now, isn't there? Could we see him up in midfield in games? Do you think that's an area of opportunity or not?
I think he's a utility player. He can play pretty much anywhere. You can play him at left back, although he can't really defend that well. So I mean, would you prefer to start him at left back and then let somebody else take over if you're ahead in the game? Maybe that's an option, but we're obviously fully stacked at the back now, and so long as players aren't getting injured, it's nice to see that Timber didn't play, Calafiori didn't play, and you've still got a decent back line. We've got some depth in there. We've got some depth in midfield, especially if we make another couple of signings. And you can even play him at left wing. So you can play him there. You can play him centre mid. You can play him wherever you like. So he offers that diversity. I mean, probably not the same kind of level, but at Bowie times when he was in at right back, and he'd play anywhere, And the one game where he actually got dug out for it was a bit of a shit show. But at the end of the day, he'd play anywhere and he'd give his 100% every single time. And I think that's the same as Zinchenko. He just gets a little bit. I don't know whether it's excited or he's trying to think about too much. A little bit like Iwobi used to do, where he used to take a second before he transition. So like if he's going into attack, he basically take a second or two, and then turn around and defend. Right, so he doesn't really switch on straight away. But I've noticed Walker doing that recently as well. So it's not just elite, just to Zinchenko. It's to a lot of players that kind of get to that point, and they just have to do a bit more rather than thinking quite as quickly.
Do we think, Mark, that the left back role will be occupied by someone else starting the season, or do we think Zinchenko will start the season at left back?
It depends on the fitness of, I would imagine, Calafiori and Timber. I would imagine they're probably slightly ahead of him, the pecking order at the moment, based on their fitness. If they're fit, Timber's obviously been around all summer, went on the tour to the States, but picked up an injury since then. Calafiori hasn't kicked a ball since the last group stage because he was suspended for Italy's game against Switzerland. So throwing him in straight away would probably be more of a risk than we should be taking in our first game.
He's done a lot of travelling as well, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. When we do have adequate quick cover. And just Tomiyasu didn't play either at the weekend. So, like as Sparks was saying, we do actually, for the first time in a good while, we do have plenty of cover defensively now. So now whether one or two of them get moved on before the window closes, we'll wait and see. But we do have plenty of cover at the back at the moment. So I would imagine we'll know more after this weekend in terms of who plays against Lyon, where we stand with fitness. I would imagine if Calafiori doesn't get any minutes this weekend, you can probably forget about him starting against Wolves. Probably the same for Timber, which would mean Zinchenko is in pole position to start the Wolves game.
It's an interesting scenario, isn't it? With when you start thinking that Declan Rice and Saka have only just come back and played like obviously 20 minutes to half hour like yesterday, and we're talking about a week and a half before the season starts. It's one of them situations, isn't it, where teams are literally going to be playing their first game of the season with players pretty much not really got any match fitness whatsoever. And I'm just sitting there wondering, kind of, from my perspective, and I've said this prior on Ryan's show, that I wouldn't actually start Saka against Wolves, because I just think that we need to put a lot more trust in our other players. And like when Saka didn't start in games last year, we won games. Do you know what I mean? So this bring the kid back right and not just chuck him in like we used to do and overplay him. I think it's a good opportunity potentially to overplay Jesus on the right, maybe potentially, or even Martinelli. I think probably Martinelli will start on the left, but if Trossard does start on the left, I'm saying Martinelli will start on the left, but there's no gimme with Trossard fit. I would potentially look at maybe starting Martinelli or Jesus on the right first game of the season. I'm not sure what you guys think of that.
I wouldn't be against it. I said Saka over the last few seasons has played a lot of games. He's been picked in basically every England squad and pretty much played every game for England, as well as nearly every. He's played 30 plus games for Arsenal in the league the last few seasons. Never mind Champions League, Europa League. I know we've gone out of cups early, and he's been involved in a lot of England squads. So, yeah, there's no need for us to really rush him into this game in terms of starting him, but we'll see what Mikel thinks. As you said, we do have players that can play on that right hand side if he wants to play Jesus or out there, or start with Martinelli and Trossard on the left. We do have options. So.
What's your thoughts, Sparks, on that?
Not for me. Strongest team plays. I think we kind of lost out 2 games last season when Gabriel supposedly had his head turned by Saudi or whatever happened. We don't know exactly what happened, but I think that we can decide. I think we start the first game with the strongest side, and then we can rotate players second game week, third game week, whatever.
Second game, Aston Villa away.
Aston Villa, yeah, but I mean, I'm not saying particularly.
0 points out of 6 last year. That's got to be a statement win, that one, isn't it?
Yeah, but I'm not saying particularly this season it's the second game. What I'm saying is I wouldn't rotate the first game. I'd take it game by game, and
you're naturally starting a player who's not really played no minutes.
He's just played a major tournament.
He's played a major tournament. I get that, but he's been out of the game for 3. I get that, but he's been out of the game for 3-4 weeks, mate. Like, it's totally different, isn't it? Like,
the tournament wasn't last week, you know.
Well, I disagree. I do disagree, and I'll tell you why I disagree. Because I think that we've overused this kid, and the whole reason we get to the burnout stage is because that this kind of attitude towards him. And I totally get what you're saying. Like, in an actual normal season without a big tournament, I'd be saying put your fucking first 11 out. But at the same time, they worked their fucking socks off. Them two first games. Even Declan Rice is a debate, if we're being honest, for the first game. I think he will start, but we're talking about they haven't played no football for 4 weeks.
I mean, who has?
Well, the players have played football for 4 weeks. We've been out in America, haven't we?
They played on a crappy field in bloody USA.
But they're training. They're not just playing football one game, are they? They're not just playing football and going, oh, do you know, we're going to have a jolly up. They're doing a whole new pre-season training where they kick off their pre-season training back, where they do all their fitness testing and all that kind of stuff.
So
we don't just turn up for a game like we would, like on a Sunday league football pitch, and then come off the Sunday league football pitch. Go, do you know what, lads? See you next Sunday.
No, I appreciate that, and you don't think that they don't train at home as well?
No, I totally. It's a totally different environment, isn't it? They probably haven't. They've probably done some fitness work, yeah. But at the end of the time, it's quality time, isn't it? These guys have played all season round. They've played they've played a whole season, extensive whole season, where they've been in a Premier League race, and then they've got to a European Championship final. Where, let's be honest as well, emotionally, they went through a whole emotional barrier. These two, not even these two players, but a whole England squad, considering what happened out there with all the fans and all that kind of stuff. And then they lost the final as well. Now that's quite a big thing. That is quite a big thing that they lost the final as well. And we expect them to settle back in straight away.
If you look at it relative to the last time they lost a final, then it was all on the shoulders of one of our players.
Supposedly.
Exactly. But it wasn't this time at all.
But it's still an emotional thing to go through, isn't it? Surely it's an emotional thing to go through to lose a final. You don't just get over it like that, do you?
That's what I'm saying. He plays every single game, every single minute of every single game.
But he does. But he does when he's fit. When he's fit, he actually naturally does. He naturally does. Yeah. And this is why we get to March and April of every season, and the geezer's out on his feet. The geezer's absolutely out on his feet.
I never said that he plays every minute of every game.
But I didn't say you said he played every minute of every game.
Well, it's the reaction that kind of says that you.
You're obviously reading something that I'm not. Well, I'm just saying to you. What I'm saying to you is naturally, this kid who's been the forefront of both England and this club for probably the last 3-4 years, naturally, he potentially will start next Saturday. But I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't start next Saturday. It would not surprise me. Sorry.
Who starts in his place then? Given that
Jesus started there, didn't he, against Manchester City? We won the game 1-0. Martinelli started there against Everton, the last game of the season. We won the game 2-1. There are players that naturally can play out there and do a job.
So why is everybody screaming that we need a Saka replacement then?
Who's everyone?
As in,
who's everyone?
Every time I go on the internet, we must get a Saka replacement.
Everyone? Who's everyone?
The whole of the internet. They're basically
let's be honest with you, the internet support is a totally different thing to what an actual person.
I agree. So
it's like having two different fan bases.
Exactly, mate. Like we talk about internet supporter. I often don't know what they're talking about in terms of what they're seeing on a pitch week in, week out. But we have naturally got players who can play out there. We're naturally not too bad, if we're being totally honest with you, with players that can play on the wing. If we're being honest,
exactly. And I think Vieira is supposed to be his actual replacement when he's injured, but he's just not working.
Vieira's the only other. Well, unless you're going to play Odegaard out there, but we've only 3 left-footed attackers in our squad. So
naturally, at the moment, we're sitting here saying it naturally because Vieira did play out there at the game yesterday, didn't he? Yeah. He started out there yesterday. We've naturally got him. We've naturally got Jesus who can play out there, who's played out there for us. We've naturally got Martinelli who can play out there, play out for us.
Yeah.
And we've still got Reece Nelson in the club at the moment. So naturally, and I'm not saying Reece Nelson's going to start because obviously I think naturally we are going to be going down the road of obviously him probably departing the club at some point.
Yeah.
But there naturally is 4 players that can play out there. So do I think we need to get a Saka replacement? I think it's a very delicate situation, if I'm being totally honest, because it's like me saying when we had Robin van Persie up front, was it easy for us to go and find a striker? No, because you look at Robin van Persie, you're not dislodging him. Whoever you are, you're not dislodging him. And it's the same with Saka. If someone's coming in, wants to come in and look into the club and come in, they're looking at that right wing where I'm thinking, do you know what? I'm not going to get in there. Like the kid's come through the academy. He's that good. You're not
going to, right? So if you get somebody in that can elevate, say, the left wing, right, for example, and they can elevate the left wing and he can come in for Saka when he's not available, right? Then you do that, right? So you basically, if it's going to boost the whole level of the starting 11, otherwise, why do you bother? What's the point? It's just going to upset the squad.
But I don't think he's going to buy it. I don't think he will bring a right winger.
I don't think he's going to either.
I don't think whatsoever he'll bring a right winger in. I know we get the Pedro Neto talk, but let's be honest, he can play either way. Where do I see him coming in? Still not sure yet. Really,
No,
that's
I don't.
just load of table talk. If we're gonna buy a winger, it has to be a left-sided winger. It has to be someone who's going to compete with Martinelli, because Martinelli at the moment is not 100% footing that he should start games for Arsenal Football Club at the moment.
No.
On a concrete every game basis. Like his performances last year, not all down to him. He had injuries. Do you know what I mean? Like he lost to Xhaka, who was obviously a key component for him in that season prior. But to elevate this team, we need someone who can play on the left, who's got that ability to potentially get 15 goals. 15 goals. I'm not going to say more than 15 goals, because I think a 15-goal return from a winger will be a really good signing for us if we got it in on the left. I don't see us buying anyone on the right. I don't see why we'll do that, because I think we have got players in the squad that can deputise. Whether we do that,
yeah, I completely agree. I think we've got cover out there anyway. I think with the meltdown when you see it on the likes of Twitter or X or whatever you blooming call it now, it's just far fetched, and it's far more urgent, if anything, to like you say, get somebody on the left wing that can potentially play the right wing, that can facilitate and stand in for Saka, not somebody that's going to get basically butthurt that they're not playing, that they're going to facilitate with the team. They can play a bit of rotation. They can come over to that side. We could do the switching positions, switching wings that we always used to do, and I think that's the way to go. Like you said, I completely agree. I don't think that. Who are you getting anyway that's better than Saka? It doesn't.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You can't buy players. You can't bring players into the club and say, do you know what? I'm bringing you in to kind of compete with Saka, because you're not competing with Saka. Saka's starting up, unless Saka leaves the club. Saka's starting it. And I'm not saying that he ain't starting there, because he is starting there. I know he's starting there. It's like, do you know what I mean? It's like, I think this season as well, especially what I say is when you come and have a big tournament like this, I think Mourinho is going to be an absolute brilliant signing for us, by the way, because when you start looking, and even he's played a whole season in the Spanish league and gone the whole distance in the league, rotation is going to be key. So I don't really agree with Colonel in terms of obviously, like, we got to play the strongest team every game, because I think that's what undone us at the end, because at certain times, because I don't think there was enough rotation. You look at the Manchester City team, they rotate, and it's about us rotating at the right times. We do have to rotate at the right times.
And I completely agree with that. And but all I'm saying is that the first game of the season is not that time. That's all I'm saying, because the pressure on that game is huge. Basically, because
I understand. I understand what you're saying. I would just rather have a fresh Saka ready for the Aston Villa game. Like Declan Rice, don't get me wrong, 100% he's going to have to play that game, because when you start looking at what in terms of what he offers, I just think if you've got Thomas Partey and Declan Rice in that centre midfield, you ain't we proved it at the back end last season.
Yeah,
14 wins out of 16. We don't lose games when Declan Rice and Thomas Partey play games together.
No.
End of story. I think that's the key. That's the key component for me. I think everyone else, as long as you've got Saliba, Gabriel, starting the season with your backbone in your team, you got that whole backbone in your team. I'm quite confident. I'm very confident in terms of what we're doing.
I worry about at the minute.
Pardon?
It's not even the back I worry about at the minute. Anyway.
I don't worry about nothing though. If I'm being totally honest, mate. Like last season, we took them to the absolute distance. We took them to the absolute distance. Where we got undone was 1 week. I know we're talking about the Fulham game, but the 1 week of the 2 Bayern Munich games and the Aston Villa games undone us. And do you know the reason why it undone us? We couldn't rotate the squad because we didn't have the players to rotate.
No, we tried to, and it hurt us.
We didn't have the players to rotate. And this is where, in this season, it's key that with the signings of obviously the Italian guy, we get this Mourinho in. If we can get a striker, and if we can get a left winger in, that's going to give us a totally different ball game in terms of being able to rotate. Because, that's what caught us out last year. Like any other natural weekend, we beat Aston Villa.
Yeah, especially at home.
We beat Aston Villa, mate.
The thing is that if the left winger does happen, which it's got potential, it could do. I don't know exactly, but if it does happen, it has to elevate that left wing. It has to be somebody that's smart.
You're talking someone Nico Williams, Rafa Leao type,
right? Something
players.
like that. I mean, even Leroy Sané, that kind of ilk. Somebody that they've basically been there, done it, got the t-shirt, and you can just start them.
But you know what? What I would say about left hand side, I actually think, right, because I know what Havertz can give us up front, I actually think potentially it would be more of a game changer if we made that big signing in left wing than if we made it up centrally. Now that's quite a controversial and debatable comment, but I just think if we got that left winger right, I just think it takes our whole team to a whole new dimension. I just think it really does. And do you know what? You then don't have to rely on Saka as much as we probably are. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think at times, Martinelli at times, I've always said it. I think it's definitely an age thing as well. But I think sometimes he's a little bit naive in games in terms of, especially when we go a goal down, I think he gets very frantic very quickly. I just think that if we got the right player in there, because I like Martinelli, don't get me wrong. And do you know what? I think if you bring that geezer on with 30 minutes to go, as we see against Crystal Palace, he's going to absolutely run you ragged, mate. Like if you've had a left winger going at you for the first 60, 65 minutes, and you go, do you know what? We're going to bring Martinelli on now.
Yeah.
What fullback actually wants that?
Well, I mean, it was the same with Walcott, wasn't it? You basically have somebody running at you, and then you shoot Walcott on there, and you're like,
here,
yeah, okay, I'm done already, and he's going to cook me.
Yeah.
So it was the same principle, but that kind of panic, I see in Zinchenko a little bit, especially if we go behind. He has that level of a little bit of panic, and it just stops him thinking a little bit. And I think, like you say, I think Martinelli's got the same thing. It stops him looking up. It stops him. His awareness isn't quite as good as it should be when he's in that position. So if we get somebody in that position, it gives him somebody to play up to as well, doesn't it?
Definitely.
So somebody to learn that position off.
Yeah. So just reading some comments. Obviously, Mr. Taylor's in here. Obviously, he's big up, gentlemen. Obviously, quite a bit of debate in terms of obviously what we've discussed. DWT, remember Arsenal's best 11 should include a Saka running on fumes on in downward form. You got Bray saying that wasn't the game Villa could pull out a result previously. I think what we're probably saying more about is that week kind of cost us, not exactly that game.
Period.
It was the period of the 3 games.
Rather than a selective game. So we couldn't rotate during that period and sustain the.
I tell you what I will say though. what we'll say, and I don't know what you guys think about it, so like the most proudest last season I thought after a game was actually the Wolves game away. 3 days after the Bayern Munich. I'll tell you what, right? That was my most proudest point of that last season. They went there 3 days after, like absolutely knackered to their feet and won that game 2-0. And that showed me so much character of what we got in that team. And I think that's why I was kind of coming into the end of the season. Like, if we don't win it, do you know what I mean? They've gone and given it their best opportunity.
When everybody's forecast, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's just to echo what Liam was saying, really. It could have spiraled very, very easily that we'd lost the Villa, we'd gone out of the Champions League. It could have been just, this is all getting too much for us and to hell with it. But in fairness, they got the 3 points at Wolves, bounced back and then finished the season incredibly strongly. Obviously, it wasn't enough, but you're competing with a juggernaut. So,
yeah, I think it definitely did kind of obviously could have gone easy the other way, couldn't it, that game, in terms of the attitude and mindset. And I think that's where seasons gone by, I think we'd have all known that we were going to go there and get beaten, but it's a different Arsenal. I look back at that game and just think, yeah, there's definitely a different mindset in terms of these players. Just looking at, obviously, ahead to the Lyon game, because obviously, as we've kind of debated, I think Saka will start that game. Declan Rice will start that game. It'd be interesting to see how many minutes he actually gives them in terms of that game. Do you think we'll probably see the two, Ricardo Calavari and Timber, start that game if they're both fit?
Go ahead, Sparks. I'll let you take that one.
I think they have to. I think they have to, really. If they are fit. I mean, it might be a case of one does one half, one does the other half. But yeah, I think they I think they have to, because they need minutes in their legs for a start off, and they need to get up to speed and not be playing on a decent pitch, and it's obviously at home as well, so they get a feel of the pitch with Calafiori, because he hasn't played on it before. I still think that the pitches can actually feel different. So you know, at the end of the day, it's a good time for him to actually get on the pitch, and even if he's not necessarily 100% fit, then you've at least got to put him out there for 10 minutes at the end of the game, just to give him some minutes in his legs, and just to get him a feel of it. That's what I reckon, anyway.
Yeah, sorry, mate. I was just reading. Just Colonel again. This is what I don't get though. You all just said our rotational options are not good enough, so we're signing 3 players really enough when you consider selling potentially 4 or 5. I'm not sure that any of us have said that we're only going to sign 3 players, but we've just given names at the moment. But if you look at the centre back, like, to be honest, reading what he's saying there, but like, in my opinion, we need to be signing at least 4 players in this window, if not 5. But I do think obviously at least one of the youngsters is going to come into the squad as well. I think he's naturally going to take Emil Smith-Rowe's place anyway from a perspective. So I think that kind of rectifies that kind of signing. Yeah. I still think obviously we brought a defender in. We still need a winger. We still need a striker. We're going to need to get another goalkeeper, at the very least, at one other goalkeeper, because for me, Ramsdale goes somewhere before the end of August. I think at least 4. So what do you think, Mark?
Yeah, I think you're probably right. If you think if Ramsdale goes, then we have to buy a goalkeeper. That's a non-negotiable. As I said, we've brought in the defender. Marino, the midfielder, is close to being done, seemingly. All these transfers seem to be very drawn out with Arsenal, but it seems to be close. And hopefully something in the attacking options, either a winger or a striker, will happen in the next 2 weeks. And again, just on top of what Karen said, I'm not sure, like, if you look at the 4 or 5 we're getting out the door, none of them will have played massive minutes last year. None of them. They're fringe players. So while we're losing bodies, we're not losing many minutes. I wouldn't say. If you track the minutes Smith Rowe played last year, okay, and Nketiah played quite a lot, but not a lot of starts when everyone was fit and available. Reece Nelson, if he goes, again, not a lot of minutes. Ramsdale, I think he probably started 2 or 3 games, maybe 3 or 4 games at the start of the season, and that was it. So we're not losing many minutes in the 4 or 5 that are gone. I know, and then you have the likes of Cedric and Elneny who've left the squad as well. So, like, while what he's saying is right in terms of we're losing 4 or 5, but we're not losing 4 or 5 guys who played a lot of minutes. So it's not, what we're losing isn't going to be detrimental or a deciding factor in terms of whether we actually nail the league this season or not, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think you need to have a bit of a reflection in terms of what happened last season as well. Timber got injured in the second half. Well, it was the first half, the back end of the first half of the first game. We didn't see him to the very last game of the season. So you've already won up there. Thomas Partey. We didn't see him to the last 6 games, naturally. We're literally another one up there. Gabriel Jesus was out for so long and then come back. This bit, if we're being totally honest, unfit, not ready. He's totally different. You can see already there's a totally different player there. So you're literally
being replaced by Nwaneri is another one.
Yeah,
you know, he's got no minutes whatsoever. Nwaneri comes in and you've got instant minutes. You know, it's giving you rotation right there, just instantly. Marino is essentially a replacement for Elneny with so much more quality. It's ridiculous. So. You know, I can see why people want 4 or 5 players. I can see why, but we need them available. The end of the day, it's about having them available. And you know, Partey again, like you say, hardly played any games, and he played 2 games, which he was not good at all because he was trying to get up to speed. And you know, you've got Mourinho coming in that can stand in for him as well. So it's the rotation. It's all about the rotation and getting minutes on the field. You know, like I said, Smith Rowe was available for what, 5 games? What's that? You'd rather promote a youth team player, and he's actually going to be available, and put him in for half an hour at the end of games or half an hour at the beginning of games, whatever you want to do. But at least he's going to be available.
Yeah.
I mean, Vieira was injured as well last season as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
So he's never really had time to shine either. So if he's back to fitness, that's another one. So it's all about keeping the players fit. Fortunately, we've got rid of Dr. Death to Manchester United. So you know, he's passing on his ways to them. So hopefully their structures and everything have kind of recovered from him, and you know, they can stay a bit fitter.
I think it's going to be an interesting season in terms of how Arteta manages it, because Arteta doesn't rotate whatsoever. He hasn't rotated. But I think I naturally think a part of that is, but it's a bit of a not to say a dig at the ball, but to say that I don't feel comfortable with the players I've got that I can rotate, and you want me to compete for a certain level that I need to compete. Where
so it's a trust thing.
But
so it's a trust thing. He doesn't.
100%. It is a trust thing, definitely. But I think naturally this season, I think that he will need to evolve himself a little bit, because let's be frankly honest here. It's his squad now, isn't it? It's literally his squad. And if he does get 3 to 4 players in, he needs to be able to trust them players to obviously be able to rotate them as such. And I totally, as I said, I see where you're going with the first game of the season. I see where you're going with it. But I think during this season, at certain points, Pep, and if we're being totally honest here, I look at Pep's team now, so I look at Pep's team two years ago, And I don't think it's as strong now as what it is 2 years ago. But there's something about him that he knows exactly when he can rotate them players and get away with it. And yeah, he will lose the odd game here and there by doing it. Do you know what I mean? But when they lose that game, they barely ever lose another game. Do you know what I mean? They barely ever go and lose a game then for the next 10, 15 games.
With bad results, they don't have bad runs of form.
No. And I think this season, I think it's going to be interesting to see how Arteta manages that, because we're all talking about he's bringing these squad players in to lift the level. So if we lift the level, surely we've got to play these players. Because if you don't play these players, there's no point bringing, like when you do bring one, they're not going to do nothing for you because they're not going to be fit enough.
Well, exactly. If they're his players, he should trust them and he should be able to rotate them, shouldn't he?
Yeah. Cup runs, hopefully, this season.
Well, that's
a big thing.
Yeah, because if you give them more opportunities to hopefully show what they're worth. And also that means if you're selling them on at the end of the season, you'll get more value for them because other clubs have actually seen them and seen them perform. So it makes your bargaining position that bit stronger.
We weren't in the Cups very long at all, though, were we?
No.
We got the FA Cup in the third
one
round,
game in the FA Cup and two games in the Carabao Cup.
They didn't play a lot in either cup competition.
No.
Sorry, Colonel. They didn't because we weren't in them long enough.
FA Cup was one game, mate.
Yeah. One game and two games in the Carabao Cup. I forget who we beat. And then we beat Brentford away and then lost to West Ham.
Yeah, and that was a miserable game, to be fair, wasn't it? That Brentford game, Jesus. What was it? Nil after about 8 minutes, and then it was just 1-0, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But
I don't care how we win them, to be honest. I don't care how we win them, to be honest.
No.
In cup games, especially, it's all about moving on, isn't it? Next game, next round.
I just think that there will be certain games where we need to just put a bit more faith in other players and give a player a breather. Do you know what I mean? No one wants a breather. Do you know what I mean? Everyone wants to play game in, game out. But the end goal for me this season has to be, do you know what I mean? Silverware. In terms of whether it is in the league, if it's not in the league, do you know what I mean? Well, how far are we going in the Champions League? Are we picking up the League Cup or an FA Cup? And do you know what? People say, it's only a League Cup. Well, Man City won it 4 years in a row.
Yeah.
Man City didn't treat it up like it was the only League Cup. It breeds confidence, don't it? It breeds success. We need to go out.
I will say this, though, that when Man City won that, like the first couple of years, everybody else used to put the youth team out. Every lower division, and say that respectfully, I'm not having a dig at nobody that's not in the top six. I'm just saying, but basically everybody that's below the top six played youth team players up until the point where Man City basically come in. They had such a big squad that they just played the first team players every time, and then Klopp started doing it in both cup competitions because he realised that he'd not got enough of his quota because he'd been playing the kids in the cup competitions and whatever, and he still played kids in the competition, but he definitely put a lot more first team players in the cup competitions and took them a lot more seriously, and then won a couple.
So in terms of Eddie Nketiah, obviously I've seen it break earlier on from one of our friends in our group. Marseille put in another bid. And this is the whole piece where I think we need to just kind of reflect, don't we, in terms of absolute. I think what he's done, Eddie Nketiah, to get himself to this situation, I think it's a massive credit to him. I think he's had some really good moments at Arsenal, especially the Manchester United home game. I always remember that, the last-minute winner. I think he's a good, honest young kid who's done his absolute very best for Arsenal. But obviously for him now, I think he needs to go somewhere to, a bit like Emil Smith Rowe, to absolutely find himself and be a first-team regular. I think potentially going to France is actually a brilliant move for him, if I'm being totally honest. I think a striker of his capability will always naturally struggle in the Premier League because the way the game's played and the way we expect our forwards to play. Do you agree do you think Marseille is a good move for him if he goes there, Mark?
I do think it's a good move for him. I'm just wondering in terms of what Edu's thinking here is in terms of knocking back the fee. Is he thinking that Spurs are going to come in for Solanke or Tony between now and the end of the window, and either Bournemouth or Brentford are going to come with a bigger bid? I wonder is that why he's drawn this out a bit. But yeah, it would be a good move for Nketiah, definitely. But yeah, just wondering is Edu kind of playing 3D chess here a bit, in terms of just holding it a bit longer to see if something happens with Solanke or Tony, and then Brentford or Bournemouth are then looking for a striker. I'm just wondering is that what his thinking is behind knocking back? Now I know they've lowballed us numerous times, but I wonder is that what he's also thinking, is that if I hold out a little bit here, there might be a better bid coming.
In terms of what do you think? What do you think is an acceptable bid to accept at the moment for Eddie Nketiah?
30. I think like the market for strikers is so shallow at the moment, as we can see when we're trying to get one ourselves, that I think 30 million is about right for Eddie Nketiah. Scored goals.
Do you think the wages play a part though? The 100k a week?
Definitely, especially selling outside the Premier League. We can see the rest of the leagues in Europe don't really have the finances the Premier League has due to TV rights, etc., etc. So I think that's another reason that, as you said, the wages and selling outside the Premier League means that there's a small, well, not necessarily a small, but there's definitely a cut on the fee that you would get, say, if another Premier League club were looking for.
An interesting one there from the Colonel again. Something that I've actually mentioned on a few shows. I think Timber could easily play defensive midfield. I think he's got all the capabilities to play there. I would never be surprised if I see him play that role at some point. But I do naturally think that Arteta has a method and a way that he wants to play, and I think it involves Timber potentially coming into midfield from one of them fullback positions. But I think he can play that role. What? Any kind of thoughts on that from you guys?
I think he can do it, but I think it would be more of a fluid position rather than a static position for me. I think he would start somewhere and he would invert into that position rather than actually start in that position. I think he'd be playing that to free somebody in that who's already in that position to basically move forwards and just develop attacks and such like, rather than actually starting in that position to do that specific job. That's just the way I see it. I've no doubt that he could do it. Definitely could do it. But obviously you have Zinchenko inverting already. You have Ben White was inverting at points. So I don't see why he'd change that kind of procedure, to be honest.
And in terms of the Eddie one, I'm on the boat that I want a striker in, if I'm being totally honest, or that left winger player. I just think if Eddie stays, I think it harbours up a spot, doesn't it? I think we need to get a deal done for him this summer.
I think his wages does. I think his wages hold it up. I don't think necessarily the transfer fee itself holds anything up. But I think obviously being on $100,000 a week, it's a big chunk of paying somebody else. I don't really see us paying $350,000 a week to say a Williams or whatever with him on the books. If he's gone, then maybe it's a possibility. But I just think that they're just sick of getting lowballed, to be honest. And I think that at some point they have to put a line in the sand and go, enough's enough. We've just had enough.
It's interesting, isn't it? With us, like I speak to other fans there, like, I can't believe Arsenal want that. But wait a minute, when I talk to you about your players, you expect
Branthwaite. What's Branthwaite done?
Exactly.
One season.
Now I understand that you want to put that fee on him because you don't want to sell him.
Yeah, scare people off.
So it's a scaremongering tactic. But then having a critical, having a go at United because they're not paying that fee is just nonsense.
You can't have it everywhere.
They've tried to buy him. You've refused. You hold the cards. Perfectly fine, not a problem. But you can't then cry that they haven't paid the 70 million because they don't value him the same that you value him at. They've got a new regime in, or supposedly, that basically says they pay reasonable amounts for play.
Yeah, they put a value on the player and they won't go.
They put a value on it, and it's the same as us, isn't it? And obviously we still have the Pepe deal as
let's let talk the better, mate. Let's let talk.
No. I was going to say something else. That's still not on. That's not on Pepe at all. That's on on
whoever
Raul,
signed off
basically. That basically signed off on that and basically took 20 million quid for himself. That's what everybody fails to tell you.
Yeah.
But
nice work if you can get it.
Yeah, exactly. And he did it with the agent as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
Give him another 10 million quid or whatever it was.
Yeah, something or other, wasn't it?
Yeah, so it ended up costing him his job. But there you go. But yeah, all other clubs seem to get ridiculous fees for players.
Well, look at City this week with Alvarez. Yes, he's a World Cup winner, but he's been a bench player for City for 2 years. £81 million from Atletico.
Now, I understand that they paid a bit more to get it on favourable terms and such like, but that is just craziness.
Yeah,
that is just craziness for me.
Do you know what though? Right, with that one, if you can get the money for it, then like happy days, isn't it? But
I don't disagree, but yeah. I mean, there could be some round robins going on there.
So 100, Mark Taylor saying 100 times 5 years, 25 million. Add the fee and the age fees. It's a big deal. I think what's going to come out of this is what the add-ons and the sell-on fee will probably be around this deal as well. I think we can get a really good sell-on fee because I think if he can, and I think he will, by the way. I think if he booms out there, then you could look. You know what happens when you get a player from France, go to France, they do well. Naturally, they'll probably go out to Spain after or something like that, wouldn't they? And then he looks to be getting sold for like 70 million. So I think naturally it's probably what that sell-on fee is going to be. Definitely, if we can get something like a good 20% on that, happy days, isn't it? Because then we'll make quite a bit more substantial money. And I think that he will go out there and naturally score quite a lot of goals because we see what happened to Balogun out there.
Yeah.
Come on, like I said.
Mate, I think eighth downwards, I think he tears it.
Yeah, I do.
The Premier League.
Yeah.
I think he tears it because, nobody plays against them the same way.
No, yeah, I get it. You're right there. I think everyone's trying to look for the same kind of striker for me. I'm surprised more Premier League clubs ain't coming for him. But I think Mark's probably a good one on the forehead. There's like our team's waiting. Is Edu waiting? If Ivan Toney goes, where do they go? Naturally, then to go and pick up a striker. If Eddie Nketiah's
what the hell is happening with Toney, man?
Bum?
What the hell is happening with Toney? What has he killed somebody or something? It's crazy.
Nothing at the moment, yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
It's weird. He's obviously waved his pants all over the place saying I'm available. And nobody's coming to him.
Even Spurs seem to be turning their noses up at him. Like they've seemed to turn to Solanke ahead of him, which is.
I think it's the attitude. I think he's got such a I like him as a player, mate. I think he's a good player. And I think he'll do well, but I just think that he's got such a tag to him now that I'm not sure clubs want to touch him. And with him being like 28, 29 as well, he's not particular. I'm not saying he's on the old side by any stretch of imagination.
No sell-on value, yeah.
Exactly. I don't think Brentford are going to actually ask for like the big money that they probably would have done 12 months ago. Yeah, it's an interesting one. I do think he'll end up going somewhere. by the end of the window. Where, I don't know yet. Do you know what I mean? You've been interesting on that one, definitely. Obviously,
Let's see.
Ricardo Cavalari. This is an interesting one for me as well. I think. Like, I'm not totally brought naturally. Yeah, right. That he will not play centre back at some point in the future. I think.
Saliba, isn't he?
Pardon?
He's a stand-in for Saliba as well, isn't he?
Be standing. I was thinking potentially more he'd be a stand-in for Gabriel, and I thought like maybe Timber is a stand-in for Saliba. Like quite interesting, weren't it, out in America that Ben White continues to play right back and Timber played right centre back, where I would have probably thought it'd been the other way round, but it seems that 100% that, as we expect, Ben White will start the season at right back because I thought he'd see. I best say, like in terms of his seasons, they've gone up in every season in terms of his performances. But yeah, I think it's an interesting one, and it just shows you like the strength and depth that that back four's got. That you've got Timber and Ricardo as Gabriel and Saliba's like wingmen, basically, and then you start looking at Ben White. You start looking at Tommy Asu. I know he got injured again, and I wish he wouldn't get injured because you know what? He's such a reliable player. Not with his injuries, but when he's in that team, he's reliable. You start looking at Zinchenko still in there. We still got Kivior at the moment. Kivior, sorry. Such a different rotation of defenders that you look at that. You look at that and you think, do you know what? We should be able to do much better in the cup competitions this year if we keep that them players fit because I don't think we will see the same kind of defensive performances as we probably did in the cups last year.
Yeah, no, I can
centre backs was a bit of an issue, weren't it, last year? If you haven't got a Saliba or you ain't got a Gabriel, then you're kind of worrying a little bit, aren't
you? Yeah, definitely. Our drop off from those two was quite big. So, as I said, when you actually go through our options now defensively, we are in a good place there. So, as I said, hopefully that will lead to 2 good cup runs, at least one, anyways, because going out of them after 1 and 2 games respectively, just not good enough for a club of our size, in my opinion.
No, I fully agree. So we've had the conversation about obviously. We all agree that we don't really see a right winger naturally coming into the club. If Eddie was to go, and I was to say to you guys, you're only going to bring one player in. What player would you bring in that attacking team? What player would you like to see come in? What player do you think would naturally elevate us to the next level?
For me, Nico Williams. His performances for both Bilbao last season and during the Euros were incredible. And I think he would take us to a different level. It would mean teams couldn't double up on Saka anymore. They'd have to defend both sides of the pitch. I know the striking options that are out there, there's probably only 2, Gyökeres and Osimhen. I'm not completely sold on either of them. Look, I haven't seen much of Gyökeres. To be honest, so maybe he is absolutely fantastic. Maybe one year you've seen a lot more of him than I have. But for me, if Williams can get done, no, probably can't. But if he could get done this summer, I'd be all over that.
I've got to agree with you. That's probably if you say to me one player, I think that's where I'll probably go because I think. As I said to you earlier on, I think if you can keep Havertz up front all season, I naturally think, like what he did yesterday, 2 assists, 1 goal, he brings so much good out of everyone else around him. What's your thoughts, Sparks? Anyone?
If I thought for a second we could get him, then I'd agree. But I don't see it. I just don't see it. He wants to go to Barcelona.
Yeah.
He's going to hold fire where he is. And he's going to wait for Barcelona to have some money next season. That's literally what he's going to do, in my opinion. I mean, I'm now in the know, so I don't know, but I just don't see it. I just don't see it happening. And I think if it was happening, I think Nketiah would be gone already. I think that they would be on a mission to free up wages.
Mm.
but
so it makes a lot of sense. What you're saying.
it's not happening. I think they will be trimming down the squad wherever they possibly can to basically just free up wages and bring them in. Obviously, the fee's not a problem. It's like 58 million euros. But yeah, Osimhen's the one for me. To be honest, I've said it all along. Just a bit of a beast. His first touch isn't amazing, but in fairness, neither was Giroud's. His first touch wasn't at times, but such a quality player, so underrated even by Arsenal fans, to be honest.
You wouldn't mind him up there now, would you? With this around his team,
I'd love him up there. You've got all those units that basically, imposing. You've got White being a shitbagger around the keeper and around defenders and stuff like that. Giroud was similar to that. He's a bit of a bit of a pest. So I think Osimhen can do that.
Yeah, I said on the show last night. For me, if we can get Osimhen, I think it's a massive statement. And I think sometimes when you have a massive statement, it's what it breeds into the club as well. I think I don't think we can get Isak this season personally, but like I would absolutely love someone like him up top for Arsenal. I think he's an absolute fabulous player. And that would be the kind of statement that would just breed so much confidence into the club. And I just think like whoever gets brought into that role, whether it's this season or next season, and whatever money it is, because it's likely to be massive money, they're in a very fortunate situation, that player, that they're coming to a team that's just been built over the last few seasons, and there's literally that one player short in terms of that player up front, that person who's going to put the ball in the back of the net not every single week, but you want it nearly every other single week and probably scoring between 25 to 30 goals a season. So we have to get it right. We do have to get it right, but I think when we do get that player, I think there'll be such a buzz around the club, and I think the club will go out and get the right player. Whether it's available this summer, I don't know. And that's the problem at the moment, isn't it? I don't know if they can do it or if they can't do it this summer. It's a bit of a shame if they can't. But for me, if we can't do it, then get the left wing situation sorted.
But the thing is for me as well, both of those players that Mark was saying about Gyökeres as well. He's had a knee injury, so I'm not entirely sure about him. So obviously that's a fitness thing. We're just getting to a point of getting rid of players that are injured, and we bring in another one that's kind of got a fitness issue. And Osimhen's had fitness issues, but very menial. They're nothing of any kind of significance, and they're both available for less than release clause. You get Osimhen for anywhere near 80 million quid. Yeah,
no brainer in it if you get like at least 30 million for Eddie.
Yeah, it's a blooming steal. So and obviously I think his wages are at 250, aren't they? But who cares? Who cares? Like you say, it is a statement, and it's not just a statement for us. It's a statement to everybody else as well.
Yeah,
it's literally just like, okay, right now this is serious.
The other player that has been talked about, and I said just there yet again, I'm not 100% brought on it whatsoever, is Leroy Sané. Don't get me wrong, absolutely kind of destroyed us at the Emirates in the first leg at times. But I just think at his age that he is now, do you know what I mean? I just worry about them kind of players.
Had a lot of injury issues as well.
Yeah, coming from Bayern Munich, 28 years old. Is he coming for the right reasons? Is he someone that you would naturally want to see in the Arsenal team?
It's a tough one because he is a very good player, but his injury issues are a red flag. His age is also something that would make you think twice. No, he has worked with Arteta before at Man City. Was very impressive for Man City, and for some reason always plays well against us, be it at City or this season at Bayern. So yeah, it's there is red flags there. Again, if you can get him on a knockdown price, then you probably go and do it. But if you're paying silly money and silly wages, then I think it's probably one to steer clear of.
What's your thoughts, Sparks?
I kind of agree, but I disagree slightly at the same time. But mine comes with kind of a caveat. If we got Sane, I'd want the striker as well.
Yeah.
If we got Williams, I wouldn't really care about striker.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I think he's big enough and, to add the quality and the goals and everything on his own.
Yeah.
Whereas I think that if you got a Sane, then you need to add the striker as well.
Yeah. I agree. I agree in terms of what you said, Mark. In terms I think there are some red flags there. I don't know. There's something that just says to me, I don't think there's something that it doesn't fill me with the confidence that it should do. Do you know what I mean? Like, it should fulfill me with a lot of confidence, but maybe it's like what you're saying, Sparks, that you feel if we do get him, we still need to get the striker. But the problem is, I guess, as well, at the moment, is there any other left wingers that you would potentially bring into the club? Like, I know, obviously, Pedro Neto's been mentioned, but let's be honest, red flags yet again with that one, isn't there, in terms of his injuries?
Absolutely.
The other thing is, isn't it nice that we're actually in this position now and turning up our noses at Leroy Sane? And 3 years ago,
3 years ago, mate, I'd be running here.
We'd have been on the bloody train. We'd be going like that. Get on the train. We're going back with me, and we'd be dragging him back. But 3 years down the line, we're like, no, not good enough.
Yeah,
but it's
come a long way, right?
I think we've been in this situation before, haven't we? We know what it's like to just go out and bring a player in. Like, I'm not going to dismiss Aubameyang whatsoever, because what he did for us in them first few seasons was absolutely superb. But you got to remember as well, right? If they come in at that age and they haven't got the right attitude, the detrimental effect that it can have on other players. And I just don't. I just don't know if Arteta needs that kind of player. I don't think Arteta needs that kind of player at the moment. And I think we are at that situation now. Like, okay, we've not won nothing, and we're all on the same conversation that we need to go and win silverware now. But we don't need to just go out and buy any player.
Yeah.
We don't need to just go out. Who?
Sanchez.
Alexis
Sanchez from
mate. No, mate. He can go and play his piano somewhere else. Do you know what? Absolute incredible player for us. Probably the best best player in the Emirates generation. Him and Van Persie, for me, the two best players. Take Thierry Henry out of it. Them two are absolutely unbelievable. But would I have him back now? Absolutely not. Pardon? Absolutely.
Another one that I kind of seen on Twitter, I was like, "You're kidding, are you? You got me."
You got some geezer in his pants board, didn't you? That's what it is.
Yeah.
I'm just going to link Sanchez back to Arsenal. Oh, Jesus Christ!
It's mental. Are you serious? We just get off the bandwagon of just having rotational players that we can't actually pick between the players. Want to bring, somebody that's going to retire.
Yeah,
I think this is why we're in such a good situation now that we can go out, look at players, and go, do you know what? We don't naturally need you. Like a few years ago, we'd have been like, well, do you know what? We need that player to come in. Like,
it's really not that long ago at all, is it?
It's not, mate. It's not. It's not like we're talking 2022.
Yeah,
we're talking 2022, mate. We lost our first 3 games.
Absolute madness. You're looking at it and going, "That's Leroy Sane."
The turnaround's been insane, considering the issues that he kind of faced in terms of the Aubameyang Ozil situation, the players that he had, and all that. And to sit here and think it's August 2024, and you know what? We look at it, and you sit there and think we're now sitting there talking about do you know what? We don't need this player. We don't need that player. We know what player we need, and yeah, we don't. We want to get that player in the club, but it's not panic just to get anyone in. Naturally, this is another player. This is another player I like. This is a player I do like.
Who's from West Ham?
He's naturally a player I do like. I think he's definitely got a lot of ability. Apparently, there's some kind of fee or some kind of clause in his contract at the end of this season.
Okay.
I can see someone big coming in for him.
Definitely.
Yeah, he's not going to be in Prem for very long unless he goes to City. But for me, I think he's going Madrid or Barca or something at the end of it.
Yeah. So the last one for me, before I quickly have a quick breeze through the Premier League, Aaron Ramsdale. Obviously, I would say that he's potentially going to go somewhere this summer. That could bring in a substantial amount of money, which would be interesting how we spend that. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about Dan Bentley coming in, but I'm on an assumption that it's more of a number 3. It's a bit of a weird situation, isn't it? What do we do if Aaron Ramsdale goes? Because I don't see this Bentley coming in as a number 2.
No, probably not. Looking at the minutes he's got at Wolves in the last couple of seasons or however long he's been there, wouldn't seem to smack of a number 2 anyways. But so it would be an underwhelming number 2 to say the least. If that's what we're with.
It'd be a worrying number 2. Like if Ray got injured, mate, then you start worrying again. That's when we talk about rotation. That is one position we won't want rotated.
We gone from 2 number 1s to a number 2 potentially should be number 4.
Right. For me, are we still going to get 2 goalkeepers come into the club? I think potentially we are.
I still don't see Ramsdale going. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. I've said it all along. I just don't. He just looks happy. He looks all right with what he's doing, and he doesn't look upset. He doesn't look maybe. I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's just he holds himself very well for somebody that wants to leave. Let's go with that.
What's your kind of thoughts, Mark?
Yeah, I don't think he wants to leave, but I think if the right offer comes in.
Yes,
I think Arsenal will pull the trigger and go, yeah, you're going. I know there's talk of Wolves potentially being interested in him, and possibly something could get done between Arsenal and them, given our interest in Bentley and them possibly being interested in taking him off us. But as far as I don't think he's not one that I think will go banging down the door saying sell me now. I don't think that's the type of personality he is. He hasn't come across that way so far anyways. But again, it depends on the offer we get. We know he's not going to start if Ray is fit. So if you can get good money for your backup goalkeeper, I think you kind of have to do it, don't you?
I think it's another one again. Like obviously what we were saying about being hardballed. I think clubs are going to come in and try and hardball us over Ramsdale and try and get him on the cheap because they know the kind of situation. But I do think, on my personal opinion, I do think Ramsdale goes, and I think the whole reason why I think he needs to go is because I think there's an opportunity at the moment with England getting a new manager in. I'm not saying Pickford's going to get dropped because I actually thought he had a quite good tournament, Pickford, but a new manager might have new ideas, and he might want to have he might like Ramsdale's attributes being able to kind of play out. So I think from Ramsdale's position, I think he loves being at Arsenal and he loves being around the 5 and the camp and all that kind of stuff. I just think that naturally he's at an age where he should be playing, shouldn't he? Really. So I think he will go, but then yet again, we're not going to get mugged off at the same time, like you've kind of said. And there is that kind of situation where, do you know what? We don't have to sell him. We don't need to sell him. Do you know what I mean? We should be getting a decent amount of money for him because we've given him a lot of Premier League experience. He's played top end football. Do you know what I mean? We brought him for about 25 million, was it? Something around that much. We should be at least getting 40 million plus for him.
I think it was the same as Raya, wasn't it? It was 27 million, I believe.
Yeah. We need to be getting at least 40 million plus, mate. Any other team, like you said earlier on, Sparksy, if they were selling Ramsdale now, yeah, right, no one naturally would question if they were selling him for 50 million.
Easy.
Yeah.
No one would debate it whatsoever, mate.
It's just ridiculous. I just don't understand.
Because it's Arsenal, and probably because he sat on the bench last year a little bit. Well, I say a little bit, the majority of the season, but yeah. But obviously, with that, we will need to get another goalkeeper in. And one link was quite interesting. I don't know what you think of this one. Talking about Sanchez, with Szczesny's name got linked back to the club. What's your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I don't think there's any legs to it. I think the Saudi clubs are going to offer him stupid money. So I don't think there's any legs to it. It would be interesting, but again, I don't think I'm not sure he's the type of guy or type of personality that's going to be a backup goalkeeper. So maybe best divided, maybe, but yeah, a good goalkeeper definitely, but not for me.
Yeah, I think I don't really see legs in it whatsoever. I think what we'll need to do is probably like we kind of replica like in terms of Man City. We need to try and find a goalkeeper like who can potentially come in and from an Ortega kind of level, to be fair, who can come in, put some really good performance in, but also like if Rayo was injured, that you'd be comfortable with him playing 10 to 15 games potentially. You never know how long someone's going to be injured for, but you've got to be mindful, haven't you, that if he does pick up an injury, you need that goalkeeper. You need that goalkeeper to come into the team. We're talking about Premier League football at the top level. We're talking about Champions League football at the top level. We're going to need a really decent number 2 to come in.
Well,
yeah, I mean, it's not Szczesny for me. I mean, I'm not necessarily up on keepers, but it's definitely not Szczesny.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah, he gives me say his name gives me PTSD anyway. Certain David, but yeah, no, not for me. I just don't see him coming in for the second. So I don't really know who we get in for a second, to be honest.
No, I don't really know at the moment in terms of names.
So it's kind of the reason that I just think Ramsdale will stay.
Yeah.
And I think he'll have some kind of deal where he promises him some game time.
Well, hopefully, get all the kind of cup games, won't he? Definitely.
Well, that's what he used to do. What Wenger used to do with Fabianski and Szczesny in the first place, wasn't it? So,
yeah,
you know, maybe that's got legs. I don't know.
There's going to be a lot more Champions League games this year as well. Well, I say a lot more. There's going to be a few more, isn't there?
I think there's 3 more, isn't there?
At least 2 more. At least 2 more in the group. And there's an extra knockout round being brought in as well. So potentially 4 more. So
you start looking at that and you start talking about rotation and like trying to trim the players down from playing probably late 40s to, I'd say, well, it was mid 40s, weren't it? A lot of the players, quite a lot of players. I think Man City players were averaging around 37 games.
Yeah.
When you start looking at more Champions League games, you think that actually we got not naturally knocked out all the competitions early.
Yeah.
That is going to be a key piece, the rotation part, in terms of these Champions League games, but also these. I guess it all depends. It's a bit of a weird situation with the Champions League this year, isn't it? Like, how it gets drawn out and all that. So
yeah,
I'm just going to wait for it to be drawn out and then come to the conclusion.
Try and follow it then.
Yeah, I haven't got a clue, to be honest.
Yeah,
absolute unbelievable.
3 international windows before Christmas as well. So,
in terms of across the border now, in terms of transfers, it has been quite quiet naturally everywhere. Anything that impressed you in other clubs at the moment?
Not particularly. Like, City have only brought in that guy from their own club in Spain, and obviously they got serious money for selling Alvarez. Liverpool have done nothing yet. Chelsea have bought everything that's moved, so I don't know any of the players they've bought, but they've bought them anyways.
Yeah.
They've bought the wind of the players that we haven't bought, I think. I think
Yeah,
that's what
exactly. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just
So
insane to me.
yeah,
They've just bought their fourth goalkeeper, haven't they?
yeah. Fourth goalkeeper in the last two windows. They can't. Do they know they can only pick one? Like,
It
it's
just
just yeah. It seems they've decided the scattergun approach has worked so well the last few windows. They're going to persist with it.
There was
What
a lot. There was a lot.
United?
Oh, sorry, mate. Go on.
Yeah, no. United brought in your man Euro, who looks like a good player, but he got injured as soon as he basically stepped on the field. And Xerxes, who had a good season with Bologna last year, but couldn't feature for the Dutch much during the Euros. So it's a very much a wait and see with him. Which, as you said, it seems to be very quiet, pretty much all over. Again, with the Euros, then the players go away on holidays. It's probably just making things. The last 2 or 3 weeks, the window could be very busy, while the first, however long, 6, 8 weeks, nothing's really happened because it's been just very hard to get deals done.
Barca getting Olmo is a decent move.
Yeah.
That was kind of expected, weren't it?
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, it's, considering they've got no money, they managed to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they always
well,
have money.
They never have money, do they, these Spanish clubs? But they always seem to like then cough out the big money when.
Absolutely mad.
Yeah. If
Always
you're real
seem to
Madrid, the council will pay for it for you.
Yeah, exactly. Nice, handy to have that on your side.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I don't know where Atletico are getting their money for them either. Like,
yeah, well, that's that. Do you know what? The Conor Gallagher one's the one that baffles me. Like he don't baffle me from Chelsea's point of view because that's what they kind of do to players. So there's no cast at them. So do you know what I mean? That don't surprise me. But what surprises me, like I don't really see him as a Simone kind of player.
No, I wouldn't have thought.
Didn't they pay 40 million for him as well?
Yeah,
the guts of, anyways. Yeah,
unbelievable.
I mean, they don't see him as a 40 million player. You know, obviously you can't get 30 for Eddie, and you get 40 for.
Well, it's probably just because he has the armband around him for the season, isn't it? They probably thought, oh, we got a leader here as well.
I mean, I could understand if the homegrown thing worked. You know, there's no homegrown out there, is there? So I couldn't even understand if that worked, but it doesn't.
No,
it just baffles me.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? I think in the whole transfer window, like we're sitting there talking about Arsenal ain't really gone out and done the business yet, but when you start naturally thinking around the whole rest of the clubs, I think everyone's in the same kind of boat at the moment. So,
what's your take on Zubimendi? Because we were linked with it quite heavily, and then he doesn't want to leave his boyhood club, and he certainly doesn't want to leave Spain. But if he does, he wants to play for a Basque manager. And now all of a sudden, they think he's going to Liverpool.
What part of the Basque country is Holland in?
It's kind of a new one on me. I mean, all the fans that were basically ripping me a new one because I said I wanted Zubimendi, and they said, he's not good enough, this, that, and the other, and a lot of them are Liverpool fans as well, and now he's the best thing since sliced bread. And you're like, hang on a minute. There's something not quite right here.
Yeah.
Do you know what it reminds me of a little bit? And the guy who went from Chelsea from Brighton last year.
Caicedo.
No.
Everyone thought he was going to Liverpool. He just come out of nowhere. He was going to go to Liverpool, and someone kind of jumped in. It wouldn't surprise me if someone jumped in on that deal.
Sounds like an agent one, doesn't it?
It's interesting that he's been picked for tomorrow, isn't it, as well? That's the other thing. If he was that close to be going to Liverpool at the moment, he wouldn't be playing tomorrow night. If they get him, do you know what? Good. Like I said, I'm not overly pissed off they get him because, he's a very good signing for them. But do you know what I mean? I'm comfortable with what we got in the middle of the park at the moment. In terms of the players we got, that I don't think it's not something I'll sit there and think, we brought him now. It's naturally going to massively strengthen us. I don't think that in the slightest, but I think if they get him, it's a good signing for them. But it's not naturally one I'd be gutted that we haven't gone in for him personally ourselves.
Yeah, no, we probably have players in that position, don't we?
Yeah.
If they're bringing them in as a
But
six.
from what I understood, it was like pretty much most of the money up front as well. So it was like, well, if you're going to play him tomorrow night or tonight or whatever it is, that's massive risk.
Mm.
That's just insanity.
Yeah. So it's his release clause, isn't it? So it's all of it up front, which is I think 60 million euros, give or take.
Well, no, you can still set payment terms on a release clause, can't you?
No, not in Spain. You have to pay the full amount up front. Because I remember with Party, we had to go to basically the headquarters of La Liga. There's the money for his release clause. So I think when you're yeah.
They could do nothing about it, could they? No, Atletico.
Yeah. So
this what?
They couldn't do nothing about it, could they? Atletico. No. Once we'd laid down the money,
the release clause. That's it. If the player can say no, but the club can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
In terms of looking into the season, what are you looking at in terms of standout players this year? Are you looking at anyone who can be absolutely key to us? I think, obviously, for myself, I think it's probably yet again. Naturally, I think Kai Havertz. I think it's turned into a really big player for us, and I think he'll continue. I think he'll continue to evolve into his team. I think he's a massive player for us. So I'm being totally honest, but I also think, obviously, the centre backs. Do you know what I mean? The centre backs are the back. I know we talk about the back four, but when we talk about the two centre backs, I think if they stay fit, then we're in my opinion, we're rocking and rolling because I just don't see a better partnership in the whole league. If I'm being totally honest, and if we're talking about it, probably across most of Europe.
Yeah, completely agree.
I agree as well, but I think a position that's kind of got to be better than last year is the left back position, and probably the left wing position. And if they're improved on, I don't think. I think we win it. I think we win the title.
Yeah, you're dead right on left back because we never nailed that position last year. Kind of Zinchenko started there, then Kivior
everybody came into it, and then
Tomiyasu was finished up there. So
I think Timber naturally plays there, don't he, to start with? I think if he's fit, it'd be interesting to see how the Italian guy does and where naturally does he play there as well. I could tell you, mate, if I'm being totally honest. If you said to me in 5 games' time, this is going to be Arsenal starting 11, I look at that defence and it should be Ben White, Gabriel, Saliba, and Timber in my head. But you just don't know, do you? You don't know what Arteta's kind of thinking.
No.
I think he's got such a. He can play so many different ways of that back four. It's ridiculous. It's absolute. When you start thinking that Tomiyasu can play right back or left back, Timber can play right back or left back.
Or centre half.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Ben White can play centre half. Tomiyasu can play centre half.
Yeah,
Calafiori
left back or centre half
and left back.
Yeah.
He could just totally change it if he wanted to, couldn't he? And play, do you know what I mean? He could play Timber at right back, he could play Ben White and Calafiori at centre back, and he could play Zinchenko at left back, or do you know what I mean? Or Timber. It's madness. It's madness. The flexibility he's got. I've never seen a defence with so much flexibility.
Yeah. Was it this time last year he rocked up and Thomas Partey was playing right back? So
well, yeah, I don't want to see that again. I don't want to see that.
No.
By any stretch of imagination.
No, maybe he feigned injury, so he didn't have to do it again.
What about Martinelli right wing?
But yeah, I mean, it's a far cry from even again about 3 years ago. We could predict the starting lineup every single game, and we wouldn't be far off.
No.
But yeah,
we were talking
about Ethan and Martinelli. Yeah,
Mark saying Ethan and Martinelli. I think Martinelli definitely needs to have a big season. I think this has to be his 100% back to where he was. I think Jesus brings a lot out of Martinelli. Jesus definitely brought out a lot of Martinelli in the 2022-23 season. I think in terms of Ethan, I think he's got such a massive future ahead of him. But I just think it's how Arteta manages that.
Be careful. Yeah.
And Lewis Scully, we haven't spoken about him.
Yeah,
he looked really composed yesterday.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah. I think he'll go straight in the squad as well.
He looked really composed. You know what? Right, he actually really interested me yesterday. The way he played and the way he can come in from the left back into the midfield role where he's naturally been his position. I think he's going to have a really good future at us. And hopefully we get to see a lot more of him. he's got an absolute collection of players to compete against. So
yeah, true.
So obviously, lastly, Leon on Sunday should be a win for us to send us into the pre-season. See us out the pre-season style. What are you going for, Mark, on Sunday?
It's pre-season, so 3-1, I think.
Yep. Nice. Sparksy?
I'm going 5-2.
Oh, you going for 5-2?
Goals galore. Like
Goals galore, yes. I just got a feeling it's going to be all guns blazing.
I'm going to go 3. Do you know? I'm going to go 3-0. I'm going to go 3-0. I think it'll be comprehensive. I think we'll start a really strong team for the first 60 minutes, and I think then we'll rotate. I think we'll see. I think we'll start. Hopefully we can start. What I want to see on Sunday is the back four that's going to start against Wolves. If I'm being totally honest. So I think potentially Ben White right back, Gabriel Saliba centre backs, and Timber left back. Hopefully, and then hopefully we get Partey. Obviously didn't start yesterday. Partey, Odegaard, and Rice. Saka, Havertz, and Martinelli. I think.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, poor old Leon, eh? I hope they turn up a little bit more motivated than what old Leverkusen did.
Yeah.
They showed some clips of their other friendlies, and they were apparently balling for Wolves, but yeah.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Obviously, thank you very much. Sparks, obviously, how's your channel going, mate, by the way?
Well, yeah. You kind of got to be on it to be doing anything with it, haven't you? So, yeah. Obviously, I've just had another rebrand. So, yeah, when the missus goes back to work, I'll be back on it more frequently.
Good man. Well, obviously, thank you very much for coming on tonight, mate. And you there next Saturday?
Yes, indeed.
See you there.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
Need it starting now.
Yeah. I'm counting down the days, mate, and ticking them off. And yourself, Mark, I'm guessing you're there Saturday week?
I will be. Looking forward to it already.
No, brilliant. Thank you very much for coming on, mate.
No problem at all. Thanks for having me.
And obviously, thank you for everyone who's come on and obviously been in the chat tonight. Obviously, Ryan will have a show on Sunday a watch-along show Sunday. The game against Leon is a 2 p.m. kickoff, so I'm sure he'll kick off proceedings at 1:30. We will officially be back with the Canon G show from next Thursday. So obviously, G will be back at that point. And we've got Andy Mockler coming back on, obviously a former Arsenal youth player. He's going to be on the show for next Thursday, which is good. So really looking forward to having him on the show. That will be a 8:30 kickoff. And naturally our shows will be on a Tuesday night, but obviously this week I'm away at the start of the week, so we're going to do it for Thursday night. Thank you very much for everyone who's come on. Thank you for these two gentlemen for having a lot of football debate tonight, and I hope you all have a good weekend. Good night.
Bye, everyone.